I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help. And he's said he just came from a neighbor's house, and we know there's been problems at this neighbor's house. He's emaciated, he's got tape around his legs, he's hungry, and he's thirsty.
Sometimes I have to neglect the kids.
Tell you, Chad, I'm really glad you're home. Our house is so much better with you here. But there's one part of me that really hates that you're here.
Here's what we're talking about. New body camera video from American Fork Police shows how officers were able to locate 2 of Ruby Franke's children on the day of her arrest in southern Utah.
Disgraced YouTuber mom Ruby Franke just got away with breaking the law, and people are not happy about it. This is the same lady who tried to convince the world that she's the queen of parenting and a super disciplinarian. So naturally you'd think she'd be the most law-abiding citizen ever, right? Turns out not only is Ruby a bad mom, but also a rude lawbreaker whose carelessness puts other people's lives in danger. Apart from all other charges leveled against Ruby, there's one more that the judge has decided to drop. And while still on the 8 passengers case, we now know the real reason Kevin wanted his firstborn daughter Sheri arrested. As you guys can already tell, there have been so many updates in the 8 passengers case, so without further ado, let's get to the meat. At this point, the 8 passengers saga is literally a never-ending roller coaster, and the plot just keeps thickening. Ruby and Jody's arrest is now old news because after years and years of people calling Ruby out over her problematic parenting skills, it took a child breaking free from Jody's basement and running across the streets to ask for help for them to finally be arrested, which is exactly what happened on the 30th of August 2023. Ruby and her business partner Jody Hildebrandt were later charged with 6 counts of cases regarding the of Ruby's children, and they have been arranged in court for several hearings. Guys, this has been such a high-profile case, which has literally attracted global public attention.
911, the address of your emergency. Tell me exactly what's happened.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help. We know there's been problems at this neighbor's house. He's emaciated, he's got tape around his legs, he's hungry, and he's thirsty. And he asked us to call the police. So he's very afraid. This kid has obviously he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds. He escaped.
I'm glad that he was able to make it to
They're on their way.
He could be safe.
Jody Hildebrandt is up there right now. So she may come looking for him here soon, but she's not gonna, obviously. We need the cops here as soon as possible.
Hold on a sec, guys, because before we jump into the latest in Ruby's wild world, we need to talk about her sisters because the latest info shows that they are just as guilty. I recently made a video about how this whole 8 passengers not only exposed Ruby, but also showed us just how selfish and self-centered her entire family is. Because whenever any of them spoke about the matter, it was all about how it affected them personally, but never about Ruby's kids, the actual. In fact, they claimed they intentionally distanced themselves from Ruby, acting surprised when she got exposed, even though the latest evidence shows they knew what was going on. In case y'all missed it, people recently called out Ruby Franke's sisters, Bonnie Hoyline and Julie Daru, regarding how they were handling the situation. Bonnie was on record acting all emotional, thanking people for supporting her in these trying times, and trying to distance her family from the situation now that people had started asking why they all let Ruby
see, you know, people's names pop down when everything was first coming out, and it was very comforting just to see people's names pop down on my phone. And so I saw that and I appreciated that. All of my aunts, all of my uncles, getting words of love and support and asking what they can do.
Bonnie said that ever since the 8 passengers saga broke airwaves, she's been getting messages from friends she hadn't seen in like forever. We're talking about friends from grade school and even people she hadn't talked to in like 20 years. Like a friend of hers called Blake that she hadn't seen for ages, but Blake's mom reached out to her just to check on her.
And I did have a little relationship with his family, and they treated me so good. And the way we treat people just really matters. She never did anything extravagant. She just was kind to me.
And then there's another childhood friend of hers who straight up showed up at her mom's door with flowers just to give her a big hug and some comfort.
I had a friend that I grew up with from the 2nd grade until we graduated, and I haven't seen her in a very long time, and she showed up at my door here at my mom's house. And having my childhood friend come to my home, my childhood home, just to hug me and bring me flowers, I sobbed. I sobbed. And she brought love from all the friends, the friend group, and that was just so tender.
Now, here's where some people really started raising eyebrows.
Obviously, so many more people that I have not talked to in I don't know how long, just saying, we know who you are, we know your family.
Hold up. So while it's totally sweet and thoughtful for people that she hasn't spoken to in years to reach out, it's kind of sort of unrealistic for them to say things like, we know your family. I mean, if you haven't seen someone for 2 whole decades, do you really know them? Really? Bonnie went ahead to say she understood why people were so curious about her family's story, relating to how she was also into watching other people's lives on the internet, and how you get much more invested when your fave TV show characters go through some drama.
This next one is really hard for me to put into words, but the amount of people that have expressed their concern for my mom and dad.
Oh, and she even added a caption saying, people who know my parents in person love them to their core because they know how good of people they are. They have dedicated their lives to their family, their church, their neighbors, and strangers. Basically, all those tears and the long speech was there to say, hey, we are nice people and we are not like Ruby. She is making this about Bonnie because she is losing major income. That's what those tears are for. Not a single word, not one word from Bonnie about how her heart breaks for the kids. Nothing. All me. It really bothers me how anytime the sisters speak on things, they never really mention the children. It's always all about her parents, etc. Totally weird. No one in Ruby Franke's family sits well with me. They never mention great concern for the children who are going to have to recover from being severely only about how this is all affecting them. They seem really off and really selfish. She's obnoxious, a drama queen, and it's all about her. The kids will never be right. Why does she need support? No one did anything to her. It's all the money. The Mormon church needs to be investigated. These families exposing their kids to make money is not right. Now, hang on for a moment because we've got Ruby's other sister, Julie, who, unsurprisingly, was just as self-absorbed as Bonnie. Just like Bonnie when Julie made a video addressing Ruby's arrest, she went on and added how all these have taken a toll on her and how it was a particularly difficult time for her because her partner was away. She had moved to a new city and she had to go through it all alone with the kids.
The past few weeks have been extremely hard. Not only did all that happen with Ruby, but I had just moved to a new state and Landon had to go back to Utah to finish up his dissertation for his degree, and so I've been settling into a new home with the kids without his help, and all of this fell down. So I literally have not had the physical or emotional capacity to address anyone, nor do I need to address anyone, but here we are.
But here's the thing. The entire video didn't even touch on how the kids were doing. It was literally about her and her future content, to the point that the comment section was just full of people calling her out for being kind of self-centered and insensitive. It got so heated that she had to apologize and explain that that wasn't her intention. Okay, to be fair to them, the family is under a gag order, which basically means that they aren't allowed to talk publicly about the 8 passengers case, but still, you can't deny that they've made this all about them, and this isn't the first we're witnessing such behavior from Ruby and everyone around her. People kinda sorta gave Julie and Bonnie the benefit of the doubt until recently, when videos started showing up that exposed them for being just as bad as Ruby, and y'all, this family is crazy! All these pity parties they threw were just a show.
Parenting with Love and Logic. I ordered this book from the library and I was just telling Ruby all about it and how I really liked it.
You had said that you had read this book from the library and like overnight you were a better mom because of the book.
I don't think I've gone to the doctors without a nurse or the doctor saying, wow, I can't believe your kids just sit there.
Something that I pride myself on, something that I enjoy doing is being transparent.
I listened to the Connections podcast. That is distortion. That is not living in truth.
Guys, I'm learning so much.
This brings us to the next part of the video, starting with this video where Bonnie shares her thoughts on how Ruby and Kevin parent and what she thinks about Connections.
My thoughts towards Ruby and Jody and Kevin and connections is that it was all bull. It was complete indoctrination of this thing that they created. I don't agree with how extreme they are on everything. I knew they were weird. I knew that they were off. Those are the things that we kept quiet about, because what was I gonna say? What was I going to do? I was not gonna come out and publicly say that I don't like my sister and I don't like what she's doing and I think she's weird.
Remember guys, this is a video she did after Ruby got arrested, and she's here clearly saying that she never supported how her sister and husband raised their kids and that their beliefs were too extreme. How convenient is it that Bonnie did not mention that she used to listen to the very connections she's now firmly dissing in public? Yep, Bonnie pretty much agreed with those teachings. Not only that, she literally used those teachings on her kids. Heck, she even talked about connections in her vlogs. Thank goodness for the internet and its receipts. First of all, here's Bonnie dropping her kids at Ruby and Kevin's, the same people she now claims she never agreed on with parenting.
Promise you're going to do what Aunt Ruby says? Yeah. Okay, get your backpack on. It's got all the goods in it. We've got our packed lunches in there. We've got baseball mitts and baseballs and all the things. Do you know how much I'm gonna miss you guys today? I'm missing out on all the fun. You guys are gonna have so much fun with all your cousins.
And here she is talking about learning so much about distortion, something talked about a lot in the connections teachings.
So much going on and so much to say. One, that is such a good sister, and two, that's such a smart daughter. Yeah, her daughter is saying, that is distortion, that is not living in truth. Guys, I'm learning so much.
So much for someone who now claims she didn't know any of this was happening. It doesn't stop there, loves. Here is yet another one.
I'm gonna tell you what I did on the drive down, or what I listened to on the drive down. I cannot handle this noise. Okay, I listened to the Connections podcast. It's a big X. I listened to the Connections podcast for like an hour and a half.
So here's the thing. Bonnie could have just said she did listen to Connections, but stopped at some point when she realized those teachings were awful. That would have made sense. But no, she's literally cursing Ruby and Connections without mentioning she was and maybe still is a member.
Something that I pride myself on, something that I enjoy doing, is being transparent.
Transparent, huh, Bonnie? Moving on to the next culprit, Ruby's other sister, Julie, who has also been lying, saying she had no clue what was happening at Ruby's. There's yet another vlog that popped up where Ruby visited Julie and she gifted Julie a book called Parenting with Love and Logic. So how did Ruby know that Julie would love this book? Get this, Julie borrowed the book from the library before and liked it so much she said it changed her parenting overnight. So Ruby thoughtfully bought her a copy.
You are so cute, Ruby. Okay, so Ruby she said she went and got something for me, and not because I need it. Parenting with Love and Logic. I ordered this book from the library, and I was just telling Ruby all about it and how I really liked it.
Oh yeah, I called you, and this was like 2 months ago, and you had said that you had read this book from the library, and like overnight you were a better mom because of the book. And so when I got the book, I'm like, I hope she doesn't think it's because I think she needs to change her parenting style. It's just because you really liked it.
No, not at all. And then, so then I got the CDs and I had Landon try and listen to them, and he didn't finish listening to them. Then I had to return the book, but I wanted to make notes in it. So this is perfect. And this will get me right on track. Because you kids test my patience.
Now, giving Julie the book wasn't an issue, guys. The issue was what was in the book, and I found some thoughts on Reddit. Someone said, I recently picked up Parenting Teens with Love and Logic and was shocked at what it was encouraging parents to do. In the first pages, there were examples of kids being picked up by police, and the parents either, 1, scheme a plan with the officer to scare the kids into thinking he was going to spend the night in a cell with child and 2, loudly told the officer in front of the kid that they didn't know if they have the time to come get them, or 3, walked up to the kid and told them a police officer is coming to get you, good luck. One parent even tried to get their kid booked for the night, but it was illegal. I'm baffled. How is this effective parenting?
I just got a text message from Eve's teacher, and she said that Eve did not pack a lunch today, and can I bring a lunch over to the school? Because I know that her teacher is uncomfortable with her being hungry and not having a lunch, and it would ease her discomfort if I came to the school with a lunch. But I responded and just said, Eve is responsible for making her lunches in the morning, so the natural outcome is she's just going to need to be hungry. And hopefully nobody gives her food and nobody steps in and gives her a lunch.
I am genuinely surprised that this book was allowed in the bookstore, you guys. That's not even one page, and it's just insane. Anyways, that's the book Julie said made her a better parent overnight, and she even got an audio version for her husband. So basically, this book teaches parents to let the kids face the natural consequences of their actions, which is a statement Ruby used to repeat to her kids over and over again.
So the natural outcome is she's just going to need to be hungry. And hopefully nobody gives her food and nobody steps in and gives her a lunch.
The book also talks about things like not feeding your dog if it was your kid's responsibility to do it, locking up 5-year-old kids in their room if they throw a tantrum, and making foster kids drink excess water as a punishment. And this last one actually led to kids losing their lives. And those foster parents ended up in jail. Guys, this is the book Ruby and Kevin are following to a T. At some point, Ruby even said that in their house, if you do something wrong and a privilege is taken away, you don't get your privilege back just by showing a change of behavior. And that you had to be consistent for at least 6 months before they are convinced that you've changed. That 6 months probation is also recommended in that book.
In our house, when we take something away, it's because they have shown that they are not responsible enough to manage it. And so we don't just turn around and give it back as soon as they start acting good.
It has to be consistent.
It has to be consistent over a minimum of 6 months.
When people found the book extremely unsettling and close to brainwashing, the author responded by saying, some of these kids need their brains washed. It's the therapist's job to disturb the disturbed. Anyways, back to Julie. There's a clip in one of their vlogs where she let Ruby punish her daughter, and Ruby was outside this poor girl, and later in the video you see bruises on her hands. Ruby acted all surprised that Julie had caught that on camera.
Sometimes it's kind of rough coming home after being with your cousins, aunts and uncles and grandparents when you're only 5 years old, 4 years old. She's come home and we're working on it, huh? We're working on listening and behaving.
I didn't know if you were gonna catch that or not. I'm like, I'm just gonna sneak her out and like have a little pep talk with her that I don't know if it'll work or not.
I know, sometimes you need to treat your mom nicer.
I'm sure that Bonnie and Julie would give all their money to anyone able to wipe their old videos from the internet, but, well, the internet never forgets. Guys, I don't know about y'all, but I know for sure that apples don't fall far from the tree, and many people think that they're doing everything to avoid blame for anything. The most disgusting part is them acting like they had no idea what was happening to those poor kids. No wonder all they've been talking about ever since Ruby was arrested is just how nice they are, and that their parents are equally nice and super kind, and how even people they saw 20 years ago can vouch for their niceness. Oh, please. It was clear from the start that they were hiding something, and those crocodile tears were just for show. They are all guilty. The entire family knew what was going on, and like y'all have seen, they were treating their own kids even worse. It's just that they haven't been arrested. I think there's a good reason the judge didn't put these kids in custody of their aunts. The only time these sisters show true emotion is when they talk about losing their channel or can't gain a following for their content. How are they not all in jail still amazes me. I just hope that the kids end up in the system and get placed with loving parents. They more than deserve it. These sisters and the author of this book are true monsters. It's very sad to hear just how long the children was ongoing and no one was willing to stand up for them. The older children grew up and tried unsuccessfully because they had no allies. Yet they want to save face on the internet? Get lost. You're just as bad as the If they knew what was habitually happening, yet doing nothing. I'm with you, the family was trash long before they met Jody. Speaking of Jody, we also got to learn that as much as Ruby would discipline her kids in the most shocking ways, things went from bad to worse when she partnered with Jody Hildebrandt to create a channel called Moms of Truth, where they gave advice and opinions on parenting, even though their channel never sat well with a lot of people because of the problematic opinions both Ruby and Jody dished out. Like the time Ruby said that women who were SA victims had a choice, and Ruby also said children don't deserve unconditional love or privacy. Funnily enough, even as they were proudly airing such controversial issues online, Jody's therapy license had already been revoked, which should have been a red flag. This happened in 2012 when Jody discussed a client's extremely personal and sensitive addiction struggles within their Mormon church without his permission.
She just knows she's getting a hit by not eating, and she's getting a hit by lying about it. And you are so easily fooled that you go along with it. So what you need to do is get big and say, no, I know exactly what's going on here. I will not be lied to. And then her world needs to get really, really small.
They later changed it to Connections, which apparently is a whole organization with employees and executives. Speaking of Connections, Utah police recently released body cam footage revealing just how disgusting and hostile this organization treated kids. Every time we get more details about Connections, it just gets creepier and creepier.
On August 30th, 2023, the day Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt were taken into custody, American Fork Police responded to the home of Pam Botcher.
This incident was recorded the very day Ruby and Jody were arrested and the kids were rescued. The police then launched a search for the other two kids, and with the help of Sheri, they were able to locate them at Pam's house.
How's it going? Good. I'm Officer Hawkins, sir. I'm looking for a Pam incident.
Yeah, that's my wife.
Is your wife? She's here? Hi. Hello, Pam. How are you doing? Good. I'm Officer Hawkins, American Fork Police Department. Hi. So we had a agency assist out of St. George in Springville that we're just looking for. When you picked her up, what was the case? Did somebody ask you to pick her up, or did you just pick her up? What was going on?
Well, I'm having guests coming, and she came and did some cleaning for me.
Some cleaning for you?
The officer asked her if someone had asked her to pick those kids, and she said boldly, without batting an eye, that she was having some guests over, so these kids were there to help her do some cleaning. The officer had to play it back just to make sure he had heard her right.
Well, I'm having guests coming, and she came and did some cleaning for me.
Some cleaning for you?
But that's not all. She didn't stop there.
She's a friend of ours. She comes over and helps me every once in a while to do cleaning and stuff.
So Ruby Franke has been dishing out her kids to her friends to go help with domestic labor. And let's not forget how much these kids used to work in their own home. So now, after all, they'd been passed around like parcels to Jody, Pam, or any other Connections member who needed a helping hand.
So this is what happened, Pam. Her parents were in the situation of a child allegation.
Okay.
DCFS made the report and went to the house and found children out locked in a safe. Okay?
In a safe?
In a safe.
Look at her acting all surprised, as if she's not the president of the very organization whose sole purpose seems to be to trend. Ruby's daughters are just there for scrubbing her floors, for goodness sake. Besides that, Pam even tried to sugarcoat the whole situation by saying these kids did the cleaning willingly and that she gave them some lunch, ice cream, and playtime. These Connections people always think that they deserve a pat on the back for doing the most basic things.
So as long as she's not tied up and bound because you
I did make her scrub.
Do something.
I did make her scrub the floor, and they vacuumed and stuff because I have company coming tonight from Costa Rica.
Okay.
So, but she did it of her own free will. We had lunch.
Yeah.
We went to Rolly's farm and had ice cream.
Okay.
So.
But it gets even messier. You know what, guys? Let's just accept that nothing good will ever come out of this Connections cult. Now, at first, this officer thought that it was Pam's daughter who had been arrested for her kids, but when he showed Pam the pics, she confirmed it was her friend Ruby and not her daughter. The officer went ahead and explained to her how terribly those kids had suffered, like he had laid it all out, and here's what she said.
Yeah, I was just scared because I thought it was my daughter. That's not my daughter. My daughter only has little kids. I mean, unfortunately, when kids that age.
It's like everything the officer said went in one ear and out the other, came in from one ear and out through the other. At no point did Pam even ask about the kids, how it all went down, or if they were rescued. Zip, zero, zilch. In fact, she did not even care about her friend's arrest. Pam just flat out said, well, I'm revealed that it's not my daughter and the kids involved aren't my grandkids. People didn't know how bad the situation was until Jody's survivors started speaking up, starting with Jody's niece, Jessie Hildebrandt, who stayed with her several years ago. And it was super disgusting to learn that Jody has way too many children and families literally all through her life.
And she would tell me all the time, if you just confess, I will stop. You confess, I will stop, which is torture. She strips you of identity, she strips you of credibility, she isolates. And so she's saying everything that you say is a lie. Everything that you say is manipulation. You're manipulating everyone around you. You're lying and destroying everyone's life. So for the sake of everyone else's safety, we're duct taping you.
What's worse, Ruby's niece also revealed that Pam had been Jody's best friend for years, and she'd been in the house watching Jody miss Jessie. Now, on to the next chapter of this wild story. As Ruby and Jody face these charges, Ruby has to deal with a lot more now that she's proven to be an unfit parent. The state has to help her raise her kids, and so Ruby has been attending child custody hearings, and even that is a whole other disaster. Because, believe it or not, guys, Ruby is out here trying to make her kids' lives even harder by providing very incriminating information against them. For instance, during the first hearings, Ruby shocked the court by saying that her son, the very same boy that had run across the street to ask for help, had SA'd several kids in the neighborhood and her young female relatives too. She said also that she treated her kids the way she did because the kids drove her crazy. So Ruby is the victim here. Classic narcissist. Still on narcissistic parents, Kevin Franke also had his moment, and we got to see him in his true colors. This version is far from what his lawyers have been trying to sell to the public.
There you go. Is it all there?
Yes. Yeah, explain to me again why this was not robbery.
Kevin is just an awful person, because even after the police handed him over his stuff, he is still as disappointed that Sheri was not arrested because according to him, this was robbery. Okay, a little backstory in case you missed this scoop. So Kevin called the police on his daughter just a day after Ruby had been arrested, accusing her of burglary. Sheri had gone to their home to gather clothing and personal items for her sisters, and she was also in the company of a caseworker. Kevin, on the other hand, suspected that Sheri may have taken some of his stuff too. According to this article, Kevin allegedly reported that electronic items, specifically his electronic journals, were missing. He told officers he believes his oldest daughter Sheri is responsible due to a statement she made in court that day. Judging by his body language on this body cam footage, Kevin looked super uneasy and utterly disappointed, which is strange because what is he hiding?
Yeah, explain to me again why this was not robbery.
Because it's a civil issue. You guys are family. She's been in the house before. You haven't been in the house in a year. She had interest in the items. She didn't take them with the intention to deprive you of them. So theft, that's the theft code. We have to prove intent to deprive you of the items. And that wasn't her intent in having them. So the detective sergeant said that we're not gonna charge her for anything.
Also, guys, if he hadn't been in the house for over 1 year as he claims, it doesn't make sense that he was so quick to notice that some of his personal items were missing. How did he immediately assume that it was Sheri who had taken them? What if Ruby had moved them into storage after he had left? I don't know about y'all, but Kevin was always around. He just can't admit to this because so far the only reason why he hasn't been arrested is because he's been saying that he wasn't aware that Ruby was missing kids because he wasn't at home. Here's the craziest part of all this. Once the police told Kevin that they could not arrest Sheri because she hadn't broken into their home, Kevin got so furious that he threatened to sue the entire police department, y'all. He literally told them, "You'll be hearing from my lawyer soon." Even in this body cam footage, Kevin pretty much repeated the same thing when he said this.
That we're not gonna charge her for anything.
Okay. I'll have to do some more research on that.
You're welcome to do that. If you want to follow up with her detective yourself.
Okay.
At this point, Kevin is literally living two completely different lives because on the one hand, he's trying to harass Sheri and bury evidence, and on the other hand, he's putting up a public show as this loving dad who only wants the best for his kids. His lawyer has also been on a media tour trying to make him look like a saint, claiming he had no idea all the bad stuff the kids had to go through for years. People are hoping that this body cam footage and his move to get Sheri arrested will be enough to reveal to the authorities exactly what kind of an entitled liar Kevin Franke truly is, and that none of his children would be safe with him if he is given custody, because if he was ready to sue his own daughter, who knows how he would punish those kids, especially the one who ran to the neighbor to ask for help. Isn't it weird that a man who hasn't been in the house for a year suddenly knows exactly what was taken? What if Ruby moved them? He has been in the house during the year, I'm sure of it. I love police cams and how they expose the truth. Good luck with the damage control on this despicable display, Kevin. Hasn't been in contact with most of his children for months, seems upset that his daughter isn't getting arrested. What a piece of work this guy is. Imagine you have been caught or at least neglecting your children so your wife can abuse your children, and then have the audacity to accuse another child of robbing you when you chose not to be in the home anyway. These people are unbelievable. He needs to be in prison too, 100%. No concern that the eldest daughter is taking care of her siblings. He just wants her charged for theft, putting his computer/electronic devices ahead of the welfare of his own children. What is he hiding? It's honestly a bit scary to many that Kevin's clout might actually work, but we can only hope that the judge doesn't buy into his sideshows, because even in their most recent hearing, Kevin, Sheri, and Chad walked in together in what seemed like a united front, but is it? Have a look at this.
Members of the 8 Passengers YouTube family appeared in court today. This is them walking into the courthouse. It's just the latest step in a child case stemming from the arrest of wife and mother Ruby Franke, who is accused of child.
You don't need to be an expert in body language to tell that these people aren't on good terms. Kevin practically walked past Sheri as if she was invisible, and neither did he even so much so as greet any of his kids. According to the news sources, this hearing session lasted almost 2 hours, but all of them declined to comment when they walked by. This was also the first time Ruby physically attended the hearing, as she was transported from Washington County to Utah County to attend in person. We still don't know what happened during this last, because the judge had to close it to the public, saying that it was very intense and also expressed the need to protect the dignity of the 4 minor kids involved. The people involved in this case have also been forbidden from sharing details with the public or even posting updates on social media. Right now, we can only go by Sheri's most recent IG post, where she didn't talk about the finer details of the case, but just updated the public on the next court session and asked for people's support. She wrote, "There's literally not even words to describe how upside down my life has become. I've cried, had an infinite number of panic attacks, had way too much ice cream, and yet life goes on. Therapy has literally saved me, but God has too. My life somehow becoming more beautiful and fulfilling despite all the terrible things going on. I've tried to live my life to the fullest the last few days, even though all I want to do is hide away in my apartment. I do have my days. Tomorrow is another big day, and I'd appreciate your prayers and thoughts for my family and myself. Words cannot express the gratitude I feel for you all, and I feel your love." You guys won't believe the real reason why Kevin actually wanted Sheri arrested. You see, Sheri is studying law, and being arrested and booked for robbery can have serious consequences for her future legal career. The arrest may lead to disciplinary actions by the law school and possible denial of admission to the bar, as bar associations often consider criminal records during the licensing process. Depending on the seriousness of the charge and the outcome, this would definitely have affected Sheri's future. Guys, that's the kind of father Kevin is. This brings us to the latest development, where a new body cam footage has emerged, revealing that while Ruby was busying her kids to saying yes ma'am, she was out on the streets over speeding at an extremely high speed, putting other people's lives in danger.
This happened 5 days before her arrest pertaining to those child with her business partner Jody Hildebrandt. Take a listen.
Hello. You know how fast you're going right there? Okay. Got you going 57 and a 35. I'll be back real quick. Okay, here's your info back. A citation for speed. Got you going 57 and a 35. I wrote you down for a 50. You have 5 days, no more 14 contacts, stand clear. Justice Court. It shows right there in that little box right there. And then just has a phone number right there. Okay, any questions for me? Okay, just slow down for me, please.
So, 5 days before Ruby Franke was arrested, she was already brushing shoulders with the police as she was pulled over for overspeeding dangerously. Nature has a weird sense of humor, guys. It's like the universe was preparing her for what was to come, literally 5 days after this incident. Ruby was going 57 in a 35, and this was at 4 a.m., so you'd wonder where she was rushing to so badly. The craziest but is that this incident happened in Ivins, which is super close to Jody's house, where Ruby's son ran to ask for help. Furthermore, Ruby wasn't alone in the car, even though the police blurred out the 2 other people. It's being said they were minors, most likely Ruby's daughters, who were rescued from Pam's house to help her clean. It's still not clear whether this incident will play a role in Ruby's other charges, but the judge recently threw this case for them to focus on the aggravated child abuse. It's now 3 months since the arrest, but currently there is still no court hearing scheduled, and the 2 monsters are still in custody at the Purgatory Correctional Facility in Hurricane, Utah. One thing is for sure, this 8-passenger saga is far from over. Ruby is losing big time because while she made her kids follow the rules to a T, turns out the rule maker at home is a rule breaker too.
And hopefully nobody gives her food and nobody steps in and gives her a lunch.
The suspense is real and the accusations are hitting hard. There's definitely more scandal, more drama, and more twists waiting to unfold in the ever-growing saga of Ruby Franke. Stay tuned, guys, because I'll keep you posted on any recent drama developing in the case. Thanks for watching.